Hello, friends, family, and my professor. This is currently the hottest I've ever been in about half a year in this room. I'm dying because every single light in here is currently on, and I'm going to melt during the course of this video, so excuse me. Anyway, it's gonna be a weird one because this video is going on my normal, just fun, creative YouTube channel, but it's also my final creative writing presentation because I wanted to talk about it, and the things I said in one were the same things I said in the other, except the one I was going to send my professor was a lot more boring. And I figured I'd just refilm them both, combine everything together, so it's much more entertaining. Yeah. So originally, for creative writing, I was gonna read this one. We got the choice of reading fiction short story collection, nonfiction short story collection, and poetry collection. And immediately I was like, I'm not reading poetry. I'll pick whatever author I recognize. So I picked Ray Bradbury, and I started The Martian Chronicles, and I didn't like it. I don't like science fiction that's old. I don't like science fiction in general most of the time. I don't like the tropes associated. I don't like it when it's old because most of the time it's written by white men, and white men are the least imaginative people when it comes to imagining societies outside their own. If you're gonna write sci-fi, take an anthropology class and look at societies outside of the one you live, because if you're writing about an alien race and the woman is still in the kitchen, you're probably limiting yourself. I'm just gonna say. So I wasn't a fan. I got like halfway through and I just wasn't feeling it. And then I read this one for my Alexander the Great class. And I put it off to the last minute. I literally read it the morning when the essay was due. And it was like 400 times better. Because it ended up being a lot gayer than I originally thought it was going to be. So, general rule of thumb, I hate poetry. I hate reading it. I hate writing it. I think it's a waste of time most of the time. I have gone as far as to say jokingly that poetry was, like, useless. And that I was against it. That was a joke. You can write poetry all you want, and I think describing yourself as a poet is the most pretentious thing you can do, in my opinion. So that's how I feel. So going into this, I was like, there's no way I'm gonna like it. It's poetry, but it's also translated from ancient Greek, so that's gonna make it worse. So, I read it and I was like, oh my god, this is actually a lot better. The characters are not boring for the most part. Or at least, like, when bad things happen, they're not prolonged by 7 pages that you have to read through. So, what type of things are in this poetry collection? Well, this book basically has 7 billion poems about how love sucks, how it will only hurt you, cause your death, and how even avoiding love will also hurt you and cause your death. So it's nice, fun, uplifting, really, 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 really lifts the spirit. So that's poetry type number 1. Others are discussing myth or like odes to recently deceased figures. I will not pronounce the person's name, but it's spelled like Ptolemy. It's ideal number 617 in praise of that guy. And then there's also some that are like for Helen of Troy. It's ideal number 18, the marriage song for Helen. And then there's one that are like biographies of different mythological figures, like the childhood of Heracles. So that's what's in it. Now, what does it explore? Well, as I said, most of the poems are about love. There's also a random one that kind of doesn't fit into a category that I just listed. It's basically just two women go to a market and then lecture the rich people on how much better it is to be poor. Or something like that. I kind of skimmed that one because it was not good. Like, that one really doesn't fit into the collection at all, and I've read that there's been some, like, controversy as to how many of these were actually written by the same person and how many of these were just bound with under this guy's name in ancient Greek. That one makes no sense, and it doesn't fit with the rest of them, but also some of these may have been destroyed at some point. It's just a matter of what has survived until the modern day. Anyway, that one's the worst. It doesn't have a spot. Like, I guess you could throw it into all of the love poem category if you just describe the love poem category as, like moral stories, except there's so many love poems or poems discussing love that it really doesn't make sense to combine it with like one other random poem. So that's it. So that's what the themes are. A lot of them deal with the inevitability of like your own destruction and how you can't, like, maybe they don't deal with that as a theme. That's probably just a reflection of Greek life, where everything is, like, ruled by the fist of God and fate, and that, you can't deny that, sort of. From that point on, what language it does utilize. So this book, again, was translated from ancient Greek, so, like, you're not gonna have, like, a lot of figurative language as we describe it today. Like, any of those fun repetitions of sound or anything, kind of probably, like, they may have existed in the original Greek text. They certainly don't now. So there's that. And then there is line breaks. To me, they seem meaningless, but apparently Theocritus was the inventor of bucolic poetry, which means nothing to me, but for my professor, that might be something that very much interests you, and you know exactly what that means. I'm pretty sure bucolic poetry has something to do with line breaks, except I'm not gonna waste my time trying to figure that out, because it sounds... Bucolic sounds like the noise I would make as I gag, as I throw up after wasting so much time learning what bucolic poetry is. Anyway, so, writing quality. So, I wouldn't say that these are good poems, because I don't believe good poetry exists. However, that's a joke, mostly. However, I would say that these are all good stories. A lot of these are narratives, with, like, a consistent, like, rise and fall of action. Like, the first one, I think, is a good example, and that's the one that always comes to mind, because, it's just the first one I read, so it sticks best. Basically, it's about this guy who refuses to have sex. That's the best way I can phrase it. There's lots of animal imagery in here. At one point, so the guy, his name, let's see if I can pronounce it. His name is Daphnis. Probably pronounced wrong, but I don't care. His name is Daphnis. He's a goat herd. Basically, for whatever reason, we're told at the beginning, this guy, smoking hot. The hottest goat herd you ever did see. Everybody was sad when this guy died, so we have the foreshadowing. You have several people coming up to him and being like, Daphnis, what are you doing? You're gonna die. And Daphne is just refusing to do anything about it. Like, Thracius comes, and says something, but then Hermes comes, and then Hermes, this is one of my favorite lines, Hermes basically says to him, he's like, yo, poor Daphnis, why are you wasting away? Your girl is scouring everywhere, woodland in spring, speaking to you. Love is surely cruel to you, helpless man. Men used to call you a cowman, but now you are more like a goatherd, who, when he sees the she-goats being mounted, weeps tears because he is not a billy goat. And I enjoy that a great deal. So that's the quality of writing you have in here. I cut out one of the more interesting uses. There's like sort of a chorus in some of these poems. The one in this one that repeats is "Begin my muses, begin the herdsman's song." But over time, those become more and more common throughout the poetry. So who knows what's going on with that? Also, there's one that is my favorite. The reason I chose this book, because this poem struck a chord in me, and I was like, if I have to write a piece inspired by the poem I just read, I'm going to do it on this one. So, there's one poem in here. What is it? The one weird one with the woman's going to market is called Woman's at the Festival. By the way, if you guys were curious and you guys really wanted to figure it out, where is it? Story of Hylas. Story of Hylas is my favorite. Basically what happens in the Story of Hylas is that my heart gets broken. This is one of the ones that really shocked me because it's like reading freaking the Song of Achilles, except it's actually gay and there's no subtext. So, I mean, Song of Achilles is based on the Iliad, so Song of the Achilles has no subtext, but the Iliad does. I'm sorry. So basically what happens in the Story of Hylas is that Hylas is Heracles' lover, and Hylas and Heracles are on the Argo sailing with Jason to go do something. I don't remember that part of Percy Jackson, so, basically they go to this island, and Hylas is out looking for something, and he gets kidnapped by the evil nymphs, and, like, they wait for him. Heracles is like, I gotta go find my lover, Hylas, because we're in love, and we belong together forever. So he goes looking, but the nymphs are holding Hylas captive and, like, smothering him so he can't cry out. And Heracles wanders, and the rest of the Argo just leaves because Heracles won't leave without Hylas, so they both get abandoned on this island, and then Heracles goes insane and is mocked for the rest of his life and called a deserter because he didn't go with Jason and the rest of the Argo to do whatever the hell it is to go, and it was so sad. It's my favorite one. It's the one that I am most invested in, and I swear our final project for this is that we have to write a piece inspired by something we read, and that's gonna be the one, because if I can't write ancient Greek poetry fan fiction in my creative writing class, then this is not America, and I don't want to be here anymore. Anyway, abstract as concrete language. So, an interesting thing about the language in this book, that there is not really any abstract language, because any sort of abstract concept is personified with, like, a concrete being. So when you have things like love, which is in essence an abstract concept, it is given it was personified by the god of love, like Eros or the other ones, or Aphrodite, or those guys. So, there's no really discussion of abstract language / concrete language, because everything is given a concrete sort of image for you to have, if that makes sense. Anyway, that is the conclusion of my discussion of Aeschylus by Theocritus, probably with several dozen pronunciation issues. But thank you for tolerating me. I look forward to seeing you all again someday. Have an excellent night. I love you. Bye.